Are you kidding me? They want me to record a video called Factorizing non-monic quadratic trinomials using the cross and fraction methods and not bore the kids to death. Good one. So, what? Hey all, today we're talking about factorizing non-monic quadratics using the cross method and the fraction method. Let's go. The cross method. Okay, so this is what we call a non-monic quadratic. It's a quadratic expression, which has got the x squared and the x and a constant in here, and it's non-monic because it doesn't have a 1 in front of the x squared. We generally know how to factorize those fairly easy, but when we don't have a 1 here, it makes life a little difficult. The first method is called the cross method. I'm going to show you how you can do that. First up, we need to create the factors of 5x squared. So I pair them like this, 5x and x. If I multiply both of these together, I'll get 5x squared. So these are factors of 5x squared. Now we also need to get factors of 6. So what do I get? I have 1 and 6, they pair together. And I also have 2 and 3, they pair together. From our previous work, we know we need to pick two numbers that multiply together to get this constant value, and they need to add together to get this b value in here. And it's a negative, which means at least one of these numbers has to be a negative because of this. But because this is a positive, and I know at least one of the numbers has to be a negative, it tells me that both of these numbers have to be a negative. So have a think about that for a while. I'm just going to know that these are my factors, -1 and -6, -2 and -3. So now we need to start doing guess and check. So we're going to pair these with these. So first up, 5x, and I'm going to pair it with -1 and 6, this factor pair here. Now it's called the cross method because we cross multiply. So I'm going to go x times -1 and write the answer here. And I'm going to say 5x times -6 and write the answer here. X times -1 is -1x. 5x times -6 is -30x. And now we just add those two numbers together and we get a -31x. Now what we're doing with this number is comparing it and seeing whether we get the b value. So -31x and this is -13x. Not the same. That is not our factor pair. So I'm going to try a different pair. This time I'm going to switch these two around and say -6 on the top and -1 on the bottom because it does make a difference. So x times -6 is -6x. 5x times -1 is -5x. I'm going to add those two together and I get -11. Is that the same as -13? No, it's not. All right, that is not my factor pair. Next up, I'm going to try -2 and -3. X times -2 is -2x. 5x times -3 is -15x. Add them together, -17x. Not the right combination. Right, you've probably figured it out. The last combination is going to be the right one. So x times -3 is -3x. 5x times -2 is -10x. And then they add together to become -13x. So they are the correct factors. Now that we know that this is correct, because this -13 is the same as this -13, so these are my two factors. So 5x squared take 13x plus 6 equals 5x take 3 times x take 2. Let's try another example here. 4x squared plus 4x take 3. Step 1, find the factor pairs of 4x squared. In this case, I've got 4x and 1x, and I've also got 2x and 2x. Now I'm going to find factors of -3. So I can have -1 and 3, or I can have 1 and -3. All right, we go through exactly the same process. Picking these pairs, we just pair them up. It's guess and check. So put them together. I'm going to use this one here, 4x and 1x, and I'm going to try and cross multiply it with -1 and 3. So -1x times -1 is -1x. 4x times 3 is 12x. Add them together and we get 11x, which unfortunately is not what we're after. 11x is not 4x. So we move on to the next pair. I'm going to change the negatives around here. So 1 and -3. 1x times 1 is x. 4x times -3 is -12x. Sum them together, we get -11x, which unfortunately is also not -4. Okay, let's try again. This time I'm going to use 2x and -1 and 3. 2x times -1 is -2x. 2x times 3 is 6x. Add them together, we get 4x. 4x is our b value here. So yes, that's exactly what we're after. Now we can just grab our two factors, 2x take 1 and 2x take 3. This expression factorized is 2x take 1 times 2x plus 3. As you can see, the cross method is a guess and check method. So it might take a little while to get to the answer that you're after, but you might get lucky and hit it up in the first couple of tries. The fraction method. All right, let's go through the fraction method now. I'm going to use the exact same examples as we did before. Firstly, you need to make sure you know your a's, b's, and c's for your quadratic. A is the coefficient in front of the x squared, b is the coefficient in front of the x, and c is your constant. The first step in the fraction method is to find the product number, and the product number is a times c. So we're multiplying 5 times 6. So we get the product number, which in this case is 30. We then find factors of 30. So 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Now when I do my factor pairs, I always go like this, 1, 30. Does 2 go into it? Yes, it does, 15 times. Does 3 go in? Yes, it does, 10 times. Does 4 go in? Well, 4 doesn't go into 30, so skip that. 5, does 5 go into 30? Yes, it does, so 5 and 6. Once I get to two numbers that are the same here, or around the same, if I keep going, 5, 6, 7, all the rest of the numbers would end up being in here. So doing it this way, going around a circle, I know I'm systematic with all of my factors. Same as before, my b value is a negative, which means at least one of these factors must be a negative. And because this is a positive, it means both of them must be a negative, because when they multiply together, they get a positive value. So that means all of my factors are going to look like this. So these are now my factor pairs. Now what we're going to do is start like this. So we go a, which is our 5x, leave a gap, close, times a, x, leave a gap, close our brackets, and that's divided by a. So notice this 5, we've actually taken it, it's the coefficient over here. Right, once we've got these, then all we need to do is pick the pairs that add together to become negative 13. So if we have a look over here by inspection, we can quickly see that's actually going to be these two here. These two here. These ones look like it, but this is actually negative 17. This one becomes negative 13, and negative 13 is the number I'm after. So these two numbers are the ones I'm going to insert here. So I'm going to put negative 3 in here and negative 10. Now you need to be pretty confident in factorizing these. That's the last step. We can factorize a 5 out of this second part here. You can see we can take a 5 out there. So that's what I'm going to do. 5, and I'm left with an x take 2. And now what happens is we've got a 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. We can actually cancel those. And part of doing this method is you must cancel this bottom bit. If you don't cancel the denominator, something's gone wrong. So our final answer is going to be 5x take 3 times x take 2, which is taken from here and is exactly the same as the answer that we got using the cross method. Example 2, the 4x squared plus 4x take 3. Okay, so step number 1, we need to get the product number. 4 times negative 3. Okay, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Find the factors of this number. So we've got 1 and 12. We've got 2 and 6. 3 and 4. Now let's look at these signs. We need a negative 12. So the product must be a negative 12. That means one of these numbers is going to be a negative and one of them is going to be a positive. If I look at my b value, when I add those two numbers together, it must be a positive value. Because it's a positive value, the bigger numbers are going to be positive and the smaller numbers are going to be negative. We know that the answer would actually be this one here, right? Because a negative 2 and a 6, that would give us the answer we're looking for. So I'm going to select that. We set up our framework. AX, which is 4x, close brackets, times 4x with a gap, brackets, and the 4 on the bottom. Grab these numbers, chuck them in. Negative 2 and plus 6. Now we need to factorize. So we can factorize a 2 out of this. Bring 2 out the front, leaves us with 2x take 1 in the middle. And we're going to factorize this as well. We can also factorize a 2 out of this. So bring the 2 out the front, 2x plus 3 left over, all over 4. Now if I multiply this 2 and the 2 together, I would get 4 on the numerator as a single factor, which means that 4 would cancel with the bottom 4. So I can just do this. 2 times 2 is 4, and that will cancel with the bottom. And remember, we need to make sure we cancel on the bottom, because that means we've done it right. So our answer now is just going to be 2x take 1 times 2x plus 3, which is what I've got here. And again, is exactly the same answer that we got using the cross method. So that's it in a nutshell, the cross method and the fraction method. Which one are you going to use? The cross method or the fraction method? That's up to you. Why don't you leave me a message in the comments, tell me which one's your favorite, and hit that like button, because if you like this video, it means that I'll keep making more. See you later. Yeah, it's done. Factorizing non-monic quadratic trinomials using the cross method and the product method. What will they think of next?